Welcome to the podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Clem, and this is Turns Out We're Gay.
Last week we talked about what the podcast was, why we're doing it, and a little bit about our coming out story. How do you feel it went?
This one's going to have as much cutting as the last one. I've actually just been editing the first episode, and can I just say, I have saved everyone a lot of time cutting out a lot of bullshit. I've left a little bit in there because it is the real us.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of it on there.
Do you know what's funny? Listening back to last week's podcast, I have been laughing so hard, and I think I'm going to be the only one laughing, so that's fine. But I actually am like, what are they going to say next? And I was in the podcast.
Well, you actually forget, don't you?
I did.
The time passes, especially because we filmed it, a week ago?
Yeah.
And I heard some things and I thought, God, I'm funny.
Me too.
Anyway,
moving on.
Yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised. I feel like we're funny. Whether or not anyone else does, it's actually not our fight.
It's actually not our fight. It's actually none of our business, to be quite honest with you.
And you actually had a funny moment watching it back last night when I showed you a little cut of you being quite mean to me.
I was really mean to you.
I tried my best.
I was really mean, and it bit me because I ended up being really bad.
Do you know what they call
seconds.
that? Do you know what they call that?
Karma.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
it
bitch.
was karma because I was horrible. Like, I was listening to it and I thought, wow, you are so mean right now.
Karma's a bitch.
Karma was a bitch. And then you came back fighting really, really strongly, and I just did not perform.
Do you know what they say? I get knocked down, I get back up again.
Yeah, good song.
Yeah, perfect. Anyway, so what are we talking about today, Sarah?
Today we're talking about is TikTok the new Tinder? Interesting topic. We have talked about it quite a bit. I've been excited for this episode. Funnily enough, before we started recording this episode, something actually happened, and I think that's a good thing to happen before you talk about a podcast. The audacity of people, which we'll jump on. We'll jump on soon, but why don't we start off with a bit of a disclaimer. Yes, we're talking about dating online. Always be safe. Be careful. Make sure you know who you're talking to. Don't meet up with strangers.
Absolutely.
And just be really, 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 really careful.
It's quite funny because I think if we we are going to go through our story, and I think a lot of our advice will kind of go against our story because now that I think about it, you literally came up here and met a stranger.
I did. Yeah, but I think we definitely took our time.
Definitely.
We definitely took our time, did a bit of, getting to know each other first and actually understand each other before we met in person.
Yeah. So is TikTok the new Tinder?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think for queer women, I think so.
I think so. I didn't even know about it until I really came out into the queer community. I had no idea that TikTok was such a dating place. I had no idea.
Do you know what it is? Us lesbians seem to not see distance as any issue.
No.
And TikTok is a great way, a lot of the time, not always, there's definitely still catfishes and things out there, but a lot of the time you can see them interact, particularly where in that sort of realm of doing lives and things like that, so you're talking to people. It definitely does seem like the new sort of dating thing for us anyway. It's hard to meet people that are queer, and I know everyone says that there's so many out there these days and whatnot, but the reality of it is when you're on these dating apps, give it a couple of days and you've gone through the whole selection.
Well, yeah, because you're talking to people that are in close proximity. TikTok, you're talking to someone who could be 1,000 miles away.
Literally.
But it's also just a social place. You can really get to know someone before you even want to talk to them. On a dating app, you don't get that chance.
And that's the thing. I've met a lot of my friends from TikTok in the queer community. I have a good solid unit of friends that I've met through TikTok, through, the live experience and just following each other and whatnot. And they're friends that I think I'll have for life, some of them. So I don't think it's just for dating. I think it's a really good place to connect with people in our community, given that the distance really isn't an issue.
Yeah, I would agree. All of my queer friends pretty much have been found on TikTok. Some of our closest friends are people that we met on TikTok.
Absolutely. So I guess, what would you say your individual experience would have been?
So I decided to start putting myself out on TikTok to really push my social interactions more because I was stuck in a really small town. And I think you had a similar experience. You're stuck in a small town. It's really just you, yourself, and your family. And I didn't have, the same type of people around that I could chat to. So jumping on TikTok really was to push a social button for me, and it ended up just being this whirlwind of getting to know the queer community. I was going on TikTok lives, and at first I thought it was super innocent. Turned out my first game of 21 was not so innocent, and that was funny. And I think some people learnt a little bit about me, which is interesting because I probably wouldn't play that game again now.
I was just about to say, I believe that was your first and last ever.
I think I played one more after that, but I wasn't as explicit as that first one.
Absolutely. The girls do not hold back
They
in that
don't
21
hold
game.
back. Are people either a lot more comfortable to say things because they're not physically in front of someone? I'm thinking more of like a fantasy, right? Some of the stories that we've heard,
They are intense.
they're intense. I don't know.
They don't leave much for the imagination. They're quite literally. We have a friend. Well, I know someone on TikTok particularly. I've got one person in mind that quite literally will go to every little detail.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that baffles me is you have no idea who's watching those lives, let alone the list of people that it says it's watching, but you can watch from the For You page without registering on theirs. Yeah, people go crazy and they just let all of their thoughts out online. And it baffles me.
Yeah. So my experience doing that 21 was I was saying things that I probably wouldn't say to a stranger in front of me, but I was willing to say it online. And now I've pulled right back and you wouldn't find me in one of those games unless it was talking about like PG content. But that really pushed me to go completely outside of my comfort zone. And then going into lives and building a community. I love my community that I have in my TikTok and the people I talk to on lives. I try and remember everyone's little stories, and when someone jumps in, I want to make them feel special enough to know that I've remembered their name and maybe something small about them, like what city they're from or whatever. But on the other side, I've also had a bit of drama, particularly surrounding you, which we'll jump onto in a second. And probably the only other two things that I found challenging as an individual experience would be that I'm probably not accepted. Accepted is a strong word, but I really struggle with straight men a lot, who jump into my lives and cannot understand how I'm a lesbian. Cannot understand. And the thing, you've seen it, like some of the things that have popped up in my comment section are just outrageous.
Speaking of obnoxious, that is obnoxious, some of the things they say.
Yeah. I would say that's even more obnoxious than anything else that I've just brought up. I've had people even message me after that. I had someone the other day message and ask for content of me touching your undercut. And I just think, would you walk up to me and ask me that question in person? Probably not. But I've had a lot of straight men particularly and some women who are straight too and they can't understand it say some really intense things to me on TikTok. And then there's the drama and then there's the tea. And that's always a funny one. But before we jump into that, what about you? What's been your TikTok experience so far?
I probably was around the sort of queer community TikTok a little bit longer than you. There's a couple of stories in there, I guess.
Just a couple.
But no, I found it, like I said, I found it a really amazing way to connect. I'm someone that can get quite socially awkward in real life, I guess you say, situations. So for me, it's actually been a really incredible way to increase my social activity in that sense and communicate with people on a much more comfortable basis because at the end of the day, you are behind a screen.
Yeah.
I can turn my camera off at any point. I can end a live or whatnot at any point. So it's definitely much more comfortable and easier for someone like me, which has been incredible because I've made friends and made more connections in the community than I ever would have without it. So in terms of making friends and things like that, it's been amazing. In terms of dating and things like that, it's brought me you, so that's amazing. I've also met some really lovely people, I guess romantically, on it that you know, we've had a couple of conversations or we've spoken for a couple of weeks or whatnot and had really good connections, and they're all part of my story and they're all part of things that I learnt things from and whatnot, and people that I still care for and still can call friends and things like that these days. So that's been really beautiful. The drama is insane, which we'll get to. You definitely see a lot of that straight cis male behaviour towards the femmes a lot more in that sense, where they will not accept what you're saying to them.
They don't. It's always followed up with a message. It's always the comment, and I just know as soon as I get off live, I'll have an inbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the things like mods and stuff are good.
Yeah.
We have one friend that's pretty savage with the mods and will block at any point.
Any point.
You breathe wrong and you're blocked.
Yeah. I think my mods are pretty good now. Your mods are pretty good. I think they're pretty clear.
I had a bit of a run-in with your mods at the start.
You did have a run-in with my mods. I forgot about that. You actually got banned from my lives for
and you know what?
Complimenting me.
It was because it was a straight male who believed he had a shot with you.
Yeah.
And I was cutting his grass in his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely all of that drama. But also my personal experience in terms of how I'm perceived on the app and things like that is been interesting.
Yeah.
And we'll go into it more in a later episode when we talk more about stereotypes and whatnot. But almost every single time I go live alone, I will get some sort of comment from a male saying, "Are you a boy or a girl?"
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
Which is wild to me. It's wild.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And then there's people that will sit there and say, "Well, you've got to understand. You dress like a boy, or you wear men's clothing, or whatever." I don't think it's that hard to get your head around.
I don't think so either. But also, you're quite feminine. I can't understand it. I think it's because people will judge off a simple look at somebody and not actually look into that person deeper.
Do you know what it is as well? 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you they know that I am a girl, but it's their way of making a point to be like, "I've noticed you're different,
Yeah.
and I'm going to make you uncomfortable by pointing it out."
Yeah. How's that made you feel?
These days, I'm very used to it,
Yeah.
so it doesn't actually faze me at all. I think I'm now comfortable enough in my own skin that it's kind of water off a duck's back. I just go, "Yep, I'm a girl. Well done." If they push and push, then it'll bother me, but I'll just get rid of them out of the thing. But for me, at the start, when I was trying to sort of build my confidence and figure out who I was exactly as a person, it definitely hurt. It definitely made me question whether or not I should be wearing the clothes I wanted to wear, or should I wear a hat or whatnot. And that's ridiculous. That I let that happen, but also that people are literally going out of their way to cause discomfort to someone to that degree. Because like I said, there's no way they'd go into a live where they might maybe look either way, but they're slightly more feminine. I don't believe that they would say that. If they would never say it if they weren't sure. I think genuinely 90% of the people that say it know exactly what they're looking at.
I agree.
And they're just trying to cause shit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, that's a bit of a vent, I guess. This is kind of like our therapy, I think.
Get it off your back, babe.
My
Say
back.
what you know.
Get off your chest.
Well, either way.
Back, chest,
Back,
whatever you
chest,
want. We don't
wherever
discriminate here. So yeah, like I was saying, you have that comfort of the screen. You have that comfort of being able to switch things off, and if things get too much at any point, it's very easy to walk away from the situation. How do you think that compares to meeting someone in person?
Well, I think when you're meeting someone in person for the first time without knowing anything about them, I feel like the nerves, the lack of confidence is there, the nerves. I feel like if I met you in person, I wouldn't have been not completely myself, but I would have been very nervous. I already was, you already know, because I literally ran away from you, but I would have been maybe presenting as what I thought you would like or whatever. I feel like when you're online, and that just comes down to nerves, right? When you meet someone, you try and be overly confident or talk about things that aren't, what you would usually talk about. But I feel like meeting online, for me anyway, I'm completely myself. I can have a level of confidence because I'm not sitting in front of you. so I can talk to you comfortably. And this probably comes back to what you were saying with that social anxiety piece. The nerves are put aside because you're sitting potentially in the comfort of your own bed on a phone.
Yeah, it usually is in your bed.
Actually, for me, it usually is always in my bed. But you're in the comfort of your own home. You're, on live. Maybe you've spoken a couple conversations before, a little bit of a flirt, but the nerves aren't there. That lack of confidence or it isn't there. You sort of can be yourself a bit better. I see you smiling. Why are you smiling?
It's very interesting that you're saying it that way because we've talked about this a little bit before, but the first time we came across each other, it's actually quite funny because I was that person. I didn't really have nerves. I could talk to almost anyone on lives and sort of be quite comfortable. But the first time I came across you, I wrote a couple of cheeky comments about your eyes being stunning because they are, and that's definitely what captivated me. You were in a live with one of my friends, so majority of it was because you were stunning and your eyes looked gorgeous. A little bit of it was just to poke fun at my friend because I knew that it would kind of rile her gears because she used to make fun of me flirting and things like that and my game and whatnot. So,
and it definitely riled her gears.
It definitely worked that time, more so than I imagined.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that because you then asked, come in live, join us for a chat. And I couldn't. I was almost frozen from nerves and I hadn't had that before. So I think...
Do you know what we call that?
Butterflies?
I think there's another.
Oh.
We call that gay panic. You had a bit of gay panic.
I absolutely did. And I think that that's only human of me with someone like you. I wasn't ready because you came across quite, like you said, you don't have those nerves and things on lives, and I was the same, but you were very well put together and seemed like not a lot would ruffle your feathers and not a lot would get under your skin and whatnot. So I wasn't really expecting much of a reaction at all from you. And when you kind of gave it back to me a little bit, I was sort of like, well, hang on, what the hell do I do now? And I fully gay panicked. Hardcore.
I did that for a little while with you, and I think I said that when we first started talking, that I could tell that you had this confidence that you needed someone to match that.
And I was scared.
In a good way?
In the best way. Because I had dated and talked to girls that were very confident, strong women and things like that, but not to this degree and not to the point of, I think just because I wasn't expecting it. So I already was like, there's this beautiful, gorgeous woman that I am so attracted to and I'd love to get to know. And as we've sort of spoken and broken things down and stuff, you've realised that my type is a bit of a boss bitch type lady.
It definitely is, 100%.
You showed up.
I did.
You showed up into that role and I just didn't know what to do with myself.
It's funny because the first time I saw you on live, I was also gay panicking, but I think I had the ability, because I was behind a screen, to put it together, but I could not stop looking at you the whole time.
You did not seem like you cared in the slightest. And I think that's what also added to it. I was like, she's given it back to me, the sass and the energy and whatnot, but she's just carrying on with her day. I can't even get into this live because I'm gay panicking so hard. And you just went, here's a bit of sass, put you in your place. Anyway, what were we talking about? And I was just like, who is this woman? I need to know her.
And you slid into my DMs.
Did I?
I think you did. Actually, I think we've had a continuous argument about this.
We're definitely going to have to go back on that and I think maybe touch on the next podcast. But the way I saw it was we had the odd little live where you would pop up and whatnot. I popped up when I was in the middle of a club and joined your live.
You joined my live.
On the dance floor.
On the dance floor, in the middle of a
After
club.
about 20 beers.
And you were talking about my eyes. So I was even on your mind when you were absolutely off it.
You were on my mind ever since the first time I saw you. And it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it did.
And we unpacked that and we went through all of that.
We did. And I don't know if this is the live for that, but I definitely think we should touch on it at some point because I think it's important. But
the episode?
Oh, we're not on live. We're actually on a podcast. Never mind. But I do think we should talk about that because it's interesting. And I think that in the last podcast, we were talking about how we've had uncomfortable conversations that other people might find uncomfortable, but we seamlessly are able to talk about those things quite comfortably.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if that ties into TikTok too much, but it is interesting. And you did, and you were scared. And you had every right to be scared, to be honest. So, yeah, maybe we'll unpack that at a later one. But how we met, though, there was a bit of drama around that.
There's always, as we literally talked about
drama.
this. We talked about this at the start of the episode, and we're going to unpack it a little bit now. There is so much tea to spill on TikTok.
We literally need to buy a box of popcorn a week to deal with the tea on TikTok.
I was going to say, and I was going to say this to you the other day, but I thought I'll keep it for the podcast. We often are sitting there saying we need more lesbian reality TV shows.
Yeah.
We don't.
No.
It's quite literally on your For You page.
Yeah.
We'll see certain names
Yeah.
come up on the lives and we'll go, babe, it's time for some tea.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point that was us. We were the tea, but now it's so interesting. It's the level of detail.
Yeah, I will just add on that though. We were never part of spilling the tea. We just happened to be having tea spilled about us.
We were literally
But we were never the type to go on live and go, this person, this person, this
Yeah.
person. But some people, the receipts, we love it when they bring in the receipts.
Love the receipts.
Oh, we are waiting where we go, well, we're not believing this unless we have receipts. We started being like, who sits on TikTok to talk about drama? And now we get excited. It's there's a new season of your favourite TV show. It's like there's another season of Grey's Anatomy.
Do you know what's even funnier? During Christmas, there was no tea. So it's like there's a break.
Yeah.
We stop the tea. We're back in Jan now. There's new tea.
Yep.
There's new people in different groups. The groups change all the time.
Literally.
And you, as the little shit stirrer that you are, jump in on this tea.
Me?
Oh my gosh, you are the class clown. You jump in on this tea and you stir the pot in a completely innocent, cheeky way, but you stir that pot so hard, and I have to sit there and go, babe, are you sure?
Look,
you do it anyway.
There's been a good couple of messages that you have made me not send, and I think had I sent them, I would be in the middle of the tea.
1,000%. There has definitely been a few.
It's a little bit of the ADHD or whatever, but I just don't think. I just say something. If I'm giggling in my head at myself, I'm like, bet everyone needs to hear it.
Yeah, but there's some things that you've said or gone to say that I'm like, babe, come on.
And in hindsight, I will then go, do you know what? Now that you've made me think for 0.5 of a millisecond, I've realised that was a really bad decision had I gone ahead with it. So I thank you for that. You're
welcome. It's it's funny to watch. So I'm there for the tea, but I'm also there for what's Clementine going to say.
Absolutely. I actually think there's a small selection of people that are there just for that.
I think in the comments, they're waiting for you. As soon as you join one of those tea lives, it's like a running train of at Clementine Lockhart. You'll hear, hey girl, hey babe, hey man. It's like, and I don't even know who these people are. And like,
I love it.
You're clearly popular, but they're all there because you've joined. And you're going to stir the pot.
That's one of my favourite things on TikTok, when your name pops up and you get to watch how everyone's face changes.
Yeah.
And like that changes with, relationship history or whatever. Yeah. But when you see someone's face change because of your name, it is so entertaining to me. Like a lot of the time in those tea conversations, they're definitely thinking, like you get the odd eye roll being like, Clem's here to talk shit again. And not in any sense of the matter of joining in on the tea, but literally just talk shit. Sometimes there's me and some random and we're just talking about something completely unrelated. Like we might be talking about what we had for dinner. And it's just kind of aggravating people because we're nothing to do with the tea and we're just taking up the comment
How many times have you been blocked for just existing?
I literally will write like hi and I'll get blocked. I'm like,
They're like, the class clown is here.
They're like, if you don't have a receipt, shut up.
And I'm
out. Like, wow.
Get out.
And that's the funniest part as well. They're doing it on platform that is accessible to everyone. And then they get offended when someone says something wrong. I'm like, you're doing it quite literally to the world.
100%.
You are putting all of your dirty laundry and everyone else's.
And it's like
in front of everyone.
I don't know if it's just dirty laundry. It goes so much further than that. Some of the receipts that we've seen, oh my goodness.
There's literal criminals. There's literal fraud criminals, like stealing. I'm telling you, if you don't have a TV show to watch at the moment, go to TikTok, follow one of us, get into the lesbian For You page. You'll get a couple of the people popping up, start following them, whatnot. I guarantee you, a couple of weeks in, you will know every single person, their dog's name, their cousin's name, how they've hurt this person.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
There's also usually like someone in there as a supporter or the person to like mediate or decide who's right and wrong.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you said that, because do you know what just happened? It sparked something in my head, and I'm gonna make sure that we do a clipping, and I put this video here because it's this thing on, it was American Idol, and two brothers went on, and one of them singing, and he's singing away, and then there's the other brother that seems to just be there for support, but they were a duo act. And he goes, come on, move your body. And anyone that's seen it is going to die when I attach this. But that is what I see.
Yeah.
They're quite literally just an echo of the main character.
Yeah. They literally sit there with a bucket of popcorn and they're just there.
They're just there.
They're just there.
Half the time they're on mute. Sometimes they're on pause on their camera. They're not even existing on the live. They're just in the vicinity.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is TikTok the new Judge Judy?
I think it's the new everything.
I think
in the best and also the worst way.
100%.
We're in a good position because we're not involved in the drama, but we get to appreciate it from this outskirts.
Maybe after this podcast we might be involved in the drama.
I think we probably will. In fact, we're getting off track, which we do a lot in this. But how we actually started this was that we actually began in the midst of drama.
Well, I want to loop that back to people who jump into your lives and have this opinion of you around like what you look like or whatever. The drama that we had was based off somebody who was what we would call maybe a good friend, we would say.
I thought.
You thought. But they had very strong opinions about you as a person. And getting to know you has made me realise how little they knew about you as an individual. Because the things, when we first started, not even talking, we were like flirting. We were probably just locking eyes. And the things that was said around your personality were just, to me, and I remember messaging this to you, it could be very damaging to someone who potentially wanted to get to know you. And at that time, it wasn't just about me. I was like, this poor girl, every girl that comes your way who might be a potential is going to get this like barrage of stuff around your character and your personality. That's awful. And I messaged that to you, and that actually made you really upset. I think that night you were quite upset. That's when you made that video, and I was like, oh my God, I felt horrible. But I couldn't believe it. And so it actually did the opposite. It actually made me want to go, well, I actually don't believe you. And I actually want to get to know her myself and make my own judgments. And I do that anyway. I would never judge somebody by what someone else has said, but it pushed me to want to get to know you more. And that caused quite an outburst, didn't it?
And it's interesting because and look, we might get a whole influx of messages that prove this comment wrong, but I don't actually think a lot of people would say much negative stuff about me. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good person and I have pretty good values and morals and things like that. So when it was what I thought was a really good friend saying all of this stuff about me, it was like, wow. And what I learned over time of us getting to know each other was that energy and warnings you got about me were nothing actually to do with me.
No.
It was because they potentially had more than just a friendship view with you. And they were kind of trying to, I guess, stop it in its tracks with me.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to get to know you themselves.
Yeah.
For me, I would never go about that way. I think if someone doesn't want to choose you naturally, then you're not meant to be.
And I was confused when that information kind of came to light, because I don't think I showed an interest like that. And I really struggled with this when I first came into the queer community, was how do you make friends with other queer members without it being assumed that there's something more. And I had that issue, and I still have that issue up until even today.
Boy, do you.
I do. And it's interesting because in that situation, we'll just touch on that in particular, I genuinely liked that person. I actually was quite interested in them as an individual and the work that they were doing, and
On a platonic level.
on a completely platonic level. Like I don't think, and you probably saw the lives, I don't think I showed any interest other than like a genuine, I'm interested in you as a person. I'm interested in you as an individual.
It was definitely a very friend zone vibe.
Yeah. And that's not to say that that person, like, there was anything wrong. It's just, I just wasn't interested in that way. And unfortunately, when it all came ahead, it seemed as though that's what it was about. And that was hurtful because that was a friendship that you valued quite a lot.
Yeah, I turned to this person, I guess through my first lesbian heartbreak and things like that. They were very much someone that I opened up to and I was very honest and raw with. And they were also someone that was there encouraging me and giving me support when I went through that breakup and I started to doubt myself and the kind of person that I was.
Yeah.
They were there supporting me and saying, no, you know what kind of person you are. You are such a good person. You are this, you are that. Immense positive messages, like incredibly positive stuff that they were saying to me. So for me to sort of hear and see it all sort of unravel, because it wasn't just that you'd said this, it wasn't a she say type thing. It was I saw it with my own eyes.
Well, they actually said it to you.
They ended up saying all of this. And I thought, well, hang on, how has this turned around within the space of a month from all of these amazing things that you've said to this horrible stuff? And do you know what's funny is I don't have tons of friends. I don't need them. I don't want them. Not for me. But the ones that I do have, I value so much. If a friend came to me and said, look, I'm interested in this person. I'd really like to get to know them. I kind of sense a vibe with you too. I was wondering if I could just try and get to know them without you getting involved or whatnot. If there was some sort of conversation like that, I would have stepped aside. 100%. Even though I knew that I had a really strong connection with you off the bat, and obviously now that we know where we're at now, like I would never want to change that. But if I had a genuine friend come to me and say those things about someone, I would back off 100%.
Yeah.
I have no interest in upsetting a friend in that sense or taking someone from someone or anything like that. But they assured me nonstop that they were not interested. I gave them the opportunity to say it multiple times, and they'll still deny it 100%.
100%.
But it was abundantly clear by the end.
Yeah. It was disappointing. It was to the point where they said if this was to continue, then they wouldn't speak to either of us. And that's exactly what they did. And like, good for them. You know, they didn't want the energy in their life, and that's fine. But for me personally, I had done absolutely nothing to that person. And the day that we met, I was blocked. It was crazy.
As in the day that you and I met.
The day that we met in person, and it was, you know, a bit more confirmed that we were kind of going down that road. And I guess that comes back to TikTok being so accessible. You can just block someone. You can just stop talking to someone. It's that simple. And so, albeit to them, they didn't want us in their life, and that's so fine, and wishing them the best, and I have no ill will towards them. But it was just interesting that we had that. And then that drama ended up continuing in other ways. And we had, we were talking for probably 2 months before we met in person, and we had people in our lives asking, you know, very personal questions.
Absolutely.
And that caused drama, and this particular group, you know, had things to say. And it's just interesting because if they actually met you and if they actually saw us in person, none of that would even be a topic.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something about blocking. And I just want to sort of put a public service announcement out there. Because this person was someone that was really close to me and we had a really strong connection as a friend. And it's someone that I'm sad that that friendship was over, but also after what happened, it's well and truly over and done and gone.
Yeah.
And I don't want that back. But I, like you said, wish them all the best and whatnot. They blocked us both. There was not one fibre in my being that thought, I'm going to then go and contact them in some other way and ask them to explain their reasoning.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you want to block someone, block them.
If you want to block someone, if you want to unfollow someone, if you don't want to like someone's content, do it.
You don't owe anyone an explanation.
Owe nobody an explanation.
They didn't owe me an explanation, even though we had this long, sentimental, close friendship where we both trusted each other, you know, to the point where they would get an achievement in life and I would be the first person they called and things like that. There was no part of me that thought they owe me an explanation on this.
No.
Not a single part.
No.
So that's just a public service announcement to people that as much as we want to be accessible to people and we're trying to build all of this content so that there's more people in the queer community out there in the world putting out this content, boundaries.
Boundaries are so important. Something that I've unfortunately had to deal with as recent as
Literally an hour ago.
And it's something that I have to deal with not just in the straight community, but I'm dealing with it in the queer community as well. And, you know, safe accessibility is what we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
I think one thing that goes wrong with content creators, and we're quite micro, like we're still new, we're very micro.
I would say I'm minute. I don't even think I would come into a micro situation.
We're micro, we'll just put it out there. We're going to dream big. But the level of audacity I have had is outstanding. And the level of information. I had someone recently message me and ask me what happened with like me and my ex-husband. And I thought, I haven't spoken to you in literally 4 years.
And they didn't stop there. They continued to ask until they got some sort of response that either stopped them or gave them what they needed.
Exactly. And it was outrageous to me. I thought, I haven't spoken to you. We haven't even said hi. I don't know. Like, I don't even know you really. And I don't owe anyone an explanation. And I think as whatever content size or content creator that you are, whether you've got one follow or 1 million followers, you don't owe anyone anything. If you want to put a video out, put a video out. If you don't want to talk about a topic, don't talk about a topic. Just because you're online and we put our lives online, there's a lot that people don't know about our life. A lot. And it's not anyone's entitlement to know. We choose what we put out there, but we also want to be accessible. And that's a big reason why this podcast came about too, is to be accessible to people and to talk about things and to talk about our lives. But I'm not, if you send me a message and you expect a response, that's on you. That's not on me.
Absolutely.
I don't owe you a response. And some of the things that get messaged to me directly, which I regret allowing that accessibility to know how to message me directly, is just, I can't understand it. And a lot of the time the messages, like I've had messages asking me things about why you've done things or you've said something or whatever. And I just think you're your own person.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing.
It's crazy.
It's like you said, we are massive on accessibility. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I want anyone to ask me any question they want at any time.
Yeah.
But if someone says, I don't want to talk about that topic right now.
Yeah.
Which you've done multiple times. I remember one live, you said it about 4 times to someone and they continued to push the same questions. Guys, you would never stand in front of someone face to face and just continue to be like, well, no, but I need you to tell me. Because that's literally what the comments would say.
That, and then that ended up being taken to another live with our friends.
Yeah. The
drama. And the thing is the topic was about our relationship, and at that time we weren't even a relationship. We were getting to know each other. We wanted it offline. And the best thing we did was keep it offline. And
Absolutely.
so it's just the audacity.
Absolutely.
The audacity is crazy to me. But talking about that, I mean, I think we could sit here and talk about this for 5 hours. There's so much to talk about.
Quite literally.
But everyone's probably stopped listening at this point. So maybe let's touch on a bit about our story. More so, we've touched on a bit of the drama and our first thoughts and things like that. But how did that kind of go, going from TikTok to in person, and where's it kind of gone now for you?
Okay, well, I'll tell everyone the story. So, here's the story. We've gone through the drama, we've gone through the tea, this and that, whatnot. The story of how we met was you were in a live. I popped in, I wrote a comment. You were swept off your feet.
Oh my God.
Taken back by the beauty of my profile picture. I get a lot of compliments on that profile picture. I'm proud of it.
It's very sexy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was joking, just for clarity on
I was being
anyone there.
serious.
Perfect. But no, I joined a live and commented and whatnot. And I think after that, we just kind of popped into the same lives. We had a couple of mutual friends and we sort of saw each other around, whatnot. We have a difference of opinion here, and we mentioned this before, but I believe the first sort of, because we'd mentioned Snapchat and whatnot in lives, I believe one of the first communications between us on a private platform was a message from you saying, I've caved, here's my Snapchat.
I disagree. And I think we're going to...
I actually wasn't even finished.
Oh, okay. Jesus pieces. Off you go.
So I got this message, and up until that point, I had been gay panicking hard. Every time we were in a live, I was panicking. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be, because I was just like, this girl is gorgeous, and I don't know how to speak to her. And then when you sent that, I just went to my completely like self-confident phase and went, bet this girl's into me. She's got Snapchat for me. The gloves are off. I'm done. I've got this in the bag.
What was one of the first things you said to me? Do you remember?
As in, I said your eyes.
No. In message. About Snapchat.
Idea.
It's a bit naughty.
What did I say?
You said, I can't wait for the poll content.
Oh, because you said you wanted to start pole
I
dancing?
did.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
You're a naughty
perfect.
noodle.
I still haven't seen any.
You will one day.
You've never done pole
Look,
dancing.
No, but I will. I want to.
Stop
I really
trying to
want
make me gay panic right now.
Yeah, okay. I'll stop.
Anyway, so that's how it started. We ended up chatting a bit more and whatnot. I don't even know how it progressed from there, but we just got to know each other. We ended up having FaceTimes
Every
24/7.
day. Every single day.
Literally.
Pretty much. No, I feel like it progressed through Snapchat. We were sending like our stories through Snapchat. I learnt more about what you do, and you were learning more about what I did. But I think ultimately, and this kind of ties back into like whether or not someone else was interested or not. From the second that we started talking, we both knew that there was such a strong connection straight away, and I think that scared us both, but it scared you more. And we'll talk about that later. But there was such a strong connection from day one, and then the banter came, and I think the banter came. We were both a bit shy at first, and then the banter came, and once the banter came, and we were just laughing all the time, FaceTiming all the time. I feel we built a really good friendship first.
Absolutely.
We were friends. We were really
Flirty friendship.
Very flirty. A little bit naughty, but we were.
Sarah.
We were really good friends. Like we could literally talk about anything from day one, and that was really, really important. And that's probably why you were a bit scared.
And to this day, we still talk about it and we say we're literally best friends.
Literally best friends.
Like, we can sit in each other's company and have no level of physical intimacy and still be having the time of our life.
Yeah.
The physical intimacy is off the scales and we both thoroughly enjoy it. But what I'm saying is that
Sorry,
we
Mum and Dad,
have
but
we
really
have that friendship on
we
that
do.
core.
We do. And that probably helps the physical intimacy because
Absolutely.
we are ultimately friends in every single way. Like, it's not just about like enjoying each other's company, but we can literally go a whole day doing nothing and just have the best day.
And have stitches from laughing.
Yeah.
Because I'm so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so funny.
Yeah.
I'm very clumsy.
I'd say you're like a sprinkle of funny, but I'm really the
You're
comedian.
really funny. You actually make me laugh until I cry. It's bad. But
You're pretty funny as well.
I am really funny.
I didn't want to say that, but I did.
I know. It was forced.
It's true,
I'm standing on your toe. But I think that's why I was so nervous when I met you, because I just didn't want that to end. And you even said it recently, like it was either it was going to work out or we might not have even been able to be, we probably would have worked out a friendship. But at that point, that on the day that we met, I already loved you.
Oh, well, you'd said it.
I actually said it.
And I had secretly said it whilst you were asleep on FaceTime at one point. But it's funny because you said quite early on in the getting to know each other phase, I was doing my usual sort of deflecting and trying to avoid things and getting scared because I'd felt so strongly for you so quickly and it was overwhelming me. And so I did my usual thing where like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, we can always be friends and whatnot. And I'd said it a few times and I think it was only a couple of weeks in that you stopped me in my tracks and you said, I'm now at a point, Clem, that if this wasn't to work, I don't want to be your friend right now. I want more. And you made that intention very clear. Which I really respected. And it also forced me to then go, okay, sort your shit out, which I did in my own way.
You did. In your own way. Yep.
But anyway, then we got to this point where you were coming up for a work trip, which you never went and did any work.
I did. But anyway, we're not getting into that here.
She went on a work trip. She's like, oh, I have to go to this place anyway where you live, which is a small town. I have to go there anyway to meet with one of my clients, which happened to have COVID when you got here. But anyway, catfish.
Wow.
And so you got here, you arrived. You said don't pick you up from the airport. I don't know anyone in their right mind who wouldn't when you're meeting someone in this sense.
I don't like meeting people in an airport.
Yeah, that's not my problem.
I just didn't want to meet you that way in person. It was the first time meeting you and I think also I was just really like conscious of how real it was. Like I just had this like perfect first moment in my head.
What was that first moment?
It doesn't matter. I think you actually experienced it later that night.
I did.
But anyway, we don't need to get into that. It was a bit saucy. But but I just had this, I wanted it to be perfect, which is hilarious now because our relationship is so perfectly imperfect.
Absolutely.
And how we met in person is actually perfect. It's actually perfect.
It's actually Let me set the scene. I was like, bet I'll surprise her. I'm going to be a gentle woman and show up with flowers, chocolates. I got you PJs because you forgot some.
You did.
I got you your favourite lollies. I wrote a card. Everyone has a perception of me, but I'm a romantic at heart.
100%.
Love romance.
I would even say, and I said this recently, that you're a little bit more romantic than me.
I think I'm a little bit more romantic than anyone in the entire
You're
world.
very romantic.
I love it. If I'm in love, I am in love.
You are.
So anyway, I showed up with all of this and I was there ready. I was nervous as hell. I was calling my friend all the way there being like, I don't know what to do. I'm so nervous, this, that, whatever. I see her get off the plane and I was like, perfect. She went past the door to get her bag and was coming back and whatnot. So I was like, perfect. I can get out of my car now. She won't have seen me. I can stand there waiting. So I stood there and I saw behind this glass door a vague figure of you appear, but not come out the door, just stay behind the glass. And your face just dropped and you were like, oh. And then you disappeared. And I was like, and she messaged me. We were about 20 metres away from each other at this point.
I saw the back.
She texted me going, oh my God, I can't believe you've actually done this. And I was like, okay. interesting reaction. I know you already have your bag, so I don't know where you've gone. And I was waiting. I was like, she'll get, give her a second to get herself together. She'll be out in a second. She never came out. A couple of minutes later, I was like, well, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to go. And I was like, perfect. I'll go carry her bags. Even more gentlewomanly. I walk in the door where you are still standing, where you had just stepped aside from the door. You took one look at me, you dropped your bags, and you quite literally ran. Nowhere specific, just away. You just ran away. And I don't know if anyone's met any of the people that have met people from like an online long distance relationship, whatever, know that nerve-wracking moment. And there's always that thing of like, oh, what if they see me in person, they don't like it or whatever. Imagine someone dropping their bags and quite literally running. Like, it looked like I was attacking her or something. And I just stood there like, what do I do with that?
Well, I ended up crying. You ended up hugging me and you were shaking. I was shaking. I was so nervous to meet you. But it was different. Meeting you was so different. Like, usually and I think my family and friends would say this, I'm quite a confident person. Like, I will walk into a client meeting and have no nerves. I'll walk into a room of people and I'll talk in front of them. I've got nothing bothering me. But meeting you was probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life because it was real. And I knew, I think I even said this to you I think I was actually crying like the night before in the airport. But I think I even said it to you, like, I didn't want it to end, and it felt like if this wasn't going to work out, it was going to end. And I couldn't even think about losing you, and I was so scared of that I wasn't like ready.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally ready in that moment. And so I ran away from you.
I mean, I know how high the nerves were because I had them, but just imagine if I ran away from you.
I would have been gutted.
I was.
I'm so sorry. But from the moment that we met each other, I don't think since then there's been even a question in our mind.
Not at all. And there's also not been any awkward moments.
No.
I am someone that is so socially awkward at times. Like, I have so many moments in every single day, and you know this because I will call you and be like, oh my God, I just said this. You know those moments where you go into a shopping centre and the cashier says like, have a nice day, and you're like, no thank you. Like, that is me all the time in life, all the time. And for me to not have, like, to just instantly have that comfort and relaxation around someone, it just absolutely clarified in my mind that this was something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to change anything. It wasn't going to end anything, meeting and things like that. It was the start.
Yeah,
so
it was.
I think after that initial moment of nerves, it very quickly became apparent that, well, I mean, you came for about a week and I think you were back in 2 weeks with everything.
Well, I came for a week and then I ended up staying for 2. And then I left for 2 and came back. And I haven't left. You bought me a house.
I bought you a house.
But there's been like not any point in all of that have I gone, this is too quick. This is too soon. And we've even had some people go, oh, U-Haul, or, you know, that's been quick or whatever. And I just, it's for me, every step that we have taken, even the bumps at the beginning, have all made sense.
Yeah.
And they've all felt right. Whether other people think so or not, I don't really care. But where we are right now is exactly where we're meant to be.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to come.
Oh my gosh.
This stuff is just really the surface.
So much. I'm so excited to be with you because I love you, but I'm also so excited because I feel like we are both quite similar in what we believe in, what we want to do. And so I just see big things and it's exciting.
I'm very excited for our life and the adventures, and I think there's a lot more on our story to come. And hopefully that sort of finishes everything up on a high. We did want to leave everyone with a question though.
Yeah, we do. So the question for today's podcast is, have you ever met someone romantically on social media? And tell us your best horror story of online dating.
Yep. Now, we obviously have quite the fairy tale, but like we said, we had a lot of drama around that. And before we'd met, I went through a lot of drama here and there and whatnot. We want to hear all the details.
All of it.
What did your sister say? Your sister said something to you yesterday.
She said you ate and left no crumbs. And that's the kind of story that we're looking for. We want you
Yep.
to eat and leave no crumbs.
We want you to eat and leave no crumbs.
And what we might even do, and we're just kind of weighing up what we're going to do at the end of this season, but I think we're going to have a bit of a question story time where we're going to go through some of the interesting things we've heard back from our audience. And this would definitely be one, a horror story.
It's probably, if you have good ones, it'll probably be a whole thing dedicated to that.
100%.
Because like you can probably tell from this episode, we love the tea. We love receipts. If you want to add some receipts in there.
Here for it.
Now, when we say receipts, for anyone that is an ally or someone supporting someone from the queer world or whatever, it's probably not even a queer thing, but for us it is. Receipts is like evidence.
Yeah. Maybe leave like legal documents out or like names and addresses and things, because some people will. Some people will.
That's actually a good point. I definitely didn't mean that. I just meant like if someone wrote you a ridiculous message, you can screenshot and cut out the message.
Yeah.
We don't need the names or anything. But
No.
we're all here for it. We love the good drama stories.
We'll literally make some popcorn and have a bowl of it, and we'll eat it while we're
Spilling the
talking.
tea. While we're spilling the tea.
The episode will be called Spilling the Tea.
I
Here
love
for
it.
it.
Here for it.
All right. On that note, we're going to finish up today's podcast. The next episode is one I've been waiting for. It's the birds and the bees, or the bees and the bees, or the birds and the birds. I don't know.
We're going to look it up before next.
We're going to look it up, whichever one it is, but it's going to be a little bit of a saucy conversation. So we're going to say 18 plus.
Yeah.
So mum, dads.
Yeah, family or friends that are iffy on this subject, just be warned. I'd skip it. If mum and dad, I'd skip it.
Skip it. But we're going to be having some interesting conversations around sex and other things.
It's going to be a good one.
It'll be a good one. All right, we're going to leave it on that. Thanks for listening. And we hope you tune into the next one. Love you, bye.